Hey everyone, Brian Kaplan here, one of your dedicated trainers for the Grow with Google program. Today I'm excited we're doing a Train the Trainer session. We're talking about identifying and really preventing online scams. Now, with this session, a few things. First off, you're going to actually have a workshop component. So this is best if you're going to mention the workshop component and have people create a Google Doc, which is part of the slides. You want them to either have a tablet or a computer, or have access to a computer lab. Really important. The other thing, if you're brand new to the fold, you haven't really been presenting these yet, here's a secret. No one knows what you're gonna say. They know what's on the slides, but they don't know what you plan to say. And most of the time, I'll tell you, I've been speaking for 7 years now. I usually don't know what I'm gonna say either. So all you wanna do when you go through and you're going to present this class, this workshop, I want you to just go through the slides first. So we're going to go through it today in just a minute. And then I want you to go through it by yourself. I want you to stop and think, where can I insert a story? You're going to notice as we go forward, I insert stories. I bring in personal things like talking about my mom. I talk about all different kinds of, a show that I've watched or something else. The more you can make this workshop relatable, the more impact it's going to have on your attendees. And that's the most important thing. Ultimately, your goal is this. Go through the slides, but give them some stories, give them some ways to remember, to retain the information, and walk away from your session with tips, tricks, or takeaways that will help them protect themselves when they're online. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we jump into the presentation, I wanted to cover some tips. Now, when you first look at these slides, you'll see that we have the yellow slides at the top, and these are more just telling you what we've changed or what we've updated with the presentation, and also some tips for your consideration. You don't have to follow all these tips. For instance, in number 1, each learner should have a laptop or desktop. If you have a computer station or you have a computer lab, great. If they bring their own laptops, okay. Most of the time for presentations, as long as they have something to write down notes with. And so that's where, if you're hosting a live event down the road, you might want to have pens and pencils and notepads, or send them an email beforehand telling them bring something to write down notes. The reason why, and this really goes into the whole idea of learning, listen, they're going to be sitting there listening to you for 45 minutes to an hour. If you're doing multiple sessions, maybe multiple hours. They need something where they can focus, and now they're activating both sides of their brain. So we want to have something where they can take down notes. Every class I ever teach, I'm always telling them at the beginning, make sure you have something to take down notes, whether it's the Notes app on your phone, or if it's your iPad or a tablet, or if it's just an old school pen and paper. So that's number 1. But as we go through, something you want to make sure of is that you're in presentation mode. So you don't want to show your audience your speaker notes. Now, I do have my speaker notes up, and I'm working off of 2 screens. So I have this screen right here with my camera, and then I'm going to pull this over. This is my presentation screen. Notice how the speaker notes show up. If you're using 2 screens, always take your speaker notes and drag them onto the screen that's not active. You don't want to kind of give away your secret sauce, right? So that's another thing. Now, what you're going to see is with these slides, it says at the top, don't present them. So feel free to go through and read some of the different tips. Now, here's something that I want you to understand. And I had talked about this at the beginning of the video, but everybody's going to learn differently, and everyone's going to present this content differently. On our team, we have some of the most amazing presenters who have been doing this for years and years. We all present differently. We all bring in different personal experiences. We all bring in different professional experiences or experiences from the road when we've met with small business owners or had someone attend our event, and we can recall those. The one thing I'll tell you is this. Throughout this whole presentation, you're giving a lot of information. People are likely to start kind of fading because they get to that point where it's like too much. The way to combat that is to break it up and identify where you can tell stories. So as we go through this exercise together, we're going to figure out where we can insert some stories, whether they're personal stories, professional stories, a story of one of your members or patrons. And by doing so, now you're making the content more relatable. And because storytelling is such an ingrained thing in all of us, people may walk away with a story that also has the moral or the point that you wanted to get across. So my goal here today is I'll tell you how I would present this, and I'll also tell you where maybe we could add in some stories, inject some personality and humanization into the presentation as well. So, okay, hi everyone, welcome to the workshop. We're talking today about protecting yourself from online scams. Now, in this workshop, we're going to talk about several ways that scammers, try to get personal information and money from people online. So we want to educate you so that your confidential and private information, as well as your money and your marketing budget, is safe in your hands. Let's get started. So now we're going to go through and we're going to talk about the roadmap. Now, I'm going to say speaker note when I have an aside, okay? So a speaker note here, you can read right off the list. Okay, we're going to set up a Google Doc. What are online scams? Protect your information. They can read that too. You have the speaker notes in front of you. Feel free to use them. Don't use them as a crutch though. Let them be there and let them kind of be there if you need to prop yourself up really quick. But if you notice, if I start reading, I'm not even looking in the camera, and if you're doing a live video, you're not going to have that interaction, that connection with your attendees. So, in this case, I would read the speaker notes. You'll start by learning how to open a new document to use for taking notes, and throughout the workshop, we're going to be able to practice your typing skills as you take notes on the scams we explore. Then we'll talk about what online scams are and what scammers are looking for. We'll cover the different ways you can protect your information. Then we'll look at examples of common scams you might encounter, and we'll review some of the signs of scams so you'll be able to stay alert and avoid scammers. Now, during this presentation, I want you to count how many times I say the word scams, and whoever gets the correct amount, you might get a prize at the end. They'll probably get a hello or a shout out or something, but that's kind of fun. It keeps them going. So now it's like, everyone, keep a tally. How many times do I say scam? Let me know. So what have you heard about online scams? Have you or someone you've known been approached online by a person or a business you suspected was actually running a scam? This, my friends, is where you can insert a story. Now, if you're live, you can actually play to the audience, tap into some of that energy and ask them to provide their own stories. If you're not live, if you're live but you're on a webinar, you're remote, you can ask them to type into the questions box or the chat, hey, what's a scam that you've encountered? A lot of the time, you may actually get people that are talking about a scam such as, I had Google call me. Well, Google didn't call you to get you to the top of the search results. Most likely wasn't Google. It was a company that misrepresented themselves as Google. That's a common question I get a lot in my presentations. You might tell a personal story. You might even allude to something like if you've ever seen the show Catfish, right? For instance, I'll tell you a personal story. My mom is on the dating scene, and she just got catfished recently. She had someone that was really into her. He was messaging her, really excited, looked like a handsome guy, accomplished. And then she said, Brian, will you check this out? And just by doing a few things using Google image search, I found out that it was a fake profile and she was being catfished. She was being scammed. So it's even more important to me now that I help others protect themselves from scams because I've seen what it does to someone on a personal level. Now all of a sudden I've established a rapport with you, and I've also explained why this is so important to me, why I'm passionate about it, and why you should listen to me. I've told you why to listen without even telling you that you should listen. So as we go through this lesson, you'll have the chance to type your thoughts and observations in a digital document that we call a Google Doc. To create a Google Doc, you first need to sign into your Google account. Now, I'm going to assume that some of you have a Google account, but some of you may not as well. Easy to do. It's free to create a Google account. You go to google.com, and then you'll click on Sign In. When you click on Sign In, you may actually have a sign-in. So if you've ever accessed Gmail or you've created a Google Doc or sheet, used Google Calendar, you have a Google account. You can sign in with that account. If not, you're going to click on Create Account. And when you click on Create Account, you're going to follow all the prompts to create your account. Once you've created your account, now you'll be able to sign in. And you're going to sign in with your username and your password. So here's an example. Aisha Smith Learns at Gmail. That's the username. So we type in Aisha's username, which is a full email address. click on next. And then we would put in the password, which you see is hidden. Now you can click on the I if you need to see what you're typing, but that's where you're going to pop in your password. The reason why the password is hidden by default is because if you're in a public setting, you don't want other people to see your password. And really you want to make sure that your password is secure and private just to you. Now let's talk about creating a new blank Google Doc. We're going to give it a title. I'm going to start by demonstrating each step. Then you can try it on your own. Later in the lesson, you can use your Google Doc to type some notes about the different scams we'll explore together. So, speaker note. Just notice, and I'm noticing this because I taught this a long time ago and I'm teaching this to you now. What we're doing is we're bringing them to the fact that there's going to be workshop time. Now, when attendees know that there's workshop time, it's basically in their mind, it's like a playground. They get free time almost. So we're alluding to it. We're not giving it to them yet, but you also just have to keep reminding them, hey, we're going to be working in this. We're going to be using Google Docs, and that's part of the speaker notes you'll see. One thing is when you get to that point, give yourself enough time. Whatever is structured as a 10-minute or 15-minute activity can basically morph into a 25 to 30-minute activity easily. So if you're on a virtual session, then you're just letting people type their own thing. That's fine. If you're live and you're in a computer lab or people are on their computers, now you have to add in, maybe some tech support. Hey, I can't access my account. I don't know how to create a Google Doc. In that case, if you're going to be teaching this as a live event, try to have another resource, a member of your team there that can help as well. It's going to be very overwhelming if you're the only person presenting and it's a larger group, maybe 15, 20 or more, and you're not able to help all of them. It's going to slow everything down and then you're going to lose interest and basically it's not going to end up the way you want it to. Okay, so now let's get back to the presentation. So here we go. From Google.com, we open the Google Apps menu in the upper right-hand corner. So you're going to see the Google Apps menu, and I'm using my arrow, my cursor here, just to show you. It's a block. It has 9 dots, 3 by 3. So this is called the Google Apps button. It looks like a waffle. Some people call it a waffle, like an Eggo waffle. We call it the Google Apps button. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight that button, the Google Apps button, and then here we have a menu of all the different apps we can access. In this case, we're going to click on Docs. Now, once the Google Docs app opens up, we're going to select a blank document, as you can see right here. It's just a plus sign and it's a blank white page. Next, we're going to title the document. Now, the title should let you know what the document is about and help you find it when you want to open it later. To title your document, you just click on where it says Untitled Document, and then you can start typing in your new title. Now, as a note, by default, when you create a Google Doc, it's private just to you. Only you have access to it. If you decide to share this with other people, just know that they'll be able to see your title as well. So you want to make sure it's something that if you are going to share it or you plan on sharing this doc with others, friends or family members who also need to navigate around scams, then we're going to make sure that we have an appropriate title. And as you can see here, by just watching the animation on the screen, we're typing in Avoid Online Scams. And then when we do that, we press enter, and now the title of the document becomes Avoid Online Scams. So now it's your turn to create and title a Google Doc. Again, you're watching this image. It's kind of showing you how we did it. So you're going to open the Google Apps menu, number 1. Then you're going to click on the Google Docs icon, which we covered. Then you'll select a blank document. And then you're going to type in your new title. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do so. So you give them some time. Usually it's 30 seconds or a minute. You might provide them with a little leeway, but that's usually where we're headed. We're giving them some structured time, get this done, and then we'll go on to the next step. So this is where the teacher has to come out and you're giving them a directive, letting them do it, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. Okay, so you have your doc. Let's start by defining the word scam. A scam is a deliberate attempt to cheat someone out of money or personal information. Scams are nothing new. People have been finding ways to take advantage of others for a long time. But the rise of the internet and social media has made it easier. Since you can communicate with just about anyone online, people who want to commit scams, we call them scammers, can use the internet to quickly and easily find and contact anyone with an online presence. Scammers can work anonymously by building websites, email addresses, and or fake social media profiles, which make it difficult, if not impossible, to track them down. The goal of this workshop isn't to make you distrustful of people, and let me emphasize that. There's plenty of good people in the world. But we want to make sure that you're being vigilant and you're being careful. And we're going to give you some different ways that you can identify scams so that you can prevent yourself from finding yourself in one. So, on this page, just go through. This is where, and I won't read the speaker notes for all of them. We know what a scam is. Scammers are generally looking for two things: money and personal information. The money that scammers are looking for can come in various forms: bank payments, wire transfers, credit or debit card payments, or even gift cards. So it's right there on the slide as well. If you have an example of someone, whether their debit card got stolen, credit card got stolen, someone got into their bank account, any of those things, tell a story here. So we want people to start relating with this. Or, hey, have you ever been in this situation, or have you found yourself or a friend or family member that their bank account got hacked? Or someone got their credit card number or debit card, and all of a sudden they were going on a spending spree halfway across the country when they're not there. So tell a story or get them to visualize. Personal information. Listen, passwords, social security numbers, bank information. Depending on what sites you're using, that information is visible. People can get that information if you're not careful about it. And these scammers want to grab that information because it allows them, if they have your social security number and bank information, they can go apply for new credit cards and things like that. So now we're getting them to think a little bit more about what people can do once they steal your identity. There's also types of personal information that may seem less confidential than passwords, but are still important to keep private. So those common questions that you have, first car, first pet, first elementary school, mother's maiden name, those are common password questions. Don't let people know those answers. Now, some of them might be obvious if they know your family, but you want to try to use off-the-path questions. So the most common ones that you're seeing here, well, those are the easiest to remember. But maybe there's one that's a little bit different. Where was your first job? Or something like that, where people might not know. Try to use a more obscure question if you can, so that you can guard your information. Because people will answer these questions, and scammers will, in order to access your confidential information. The good news is you can outsmart scammers by learning the signs of a potential scam and by always protecting your personal information. So we're going to spend the rest of the workshop discussing some frequently attempted scams so you'll know how to recognize them and protect yourself. Let's take a look at some different scam examples that you might encounter online. After you see each example, you'll have the chance to type your thoughts and observations in the Google Doc you just created. So, here, you're going to read out the email. Now, when you read it out loud, this example was designed to look similar to an email that could come from a bank. If someone really received an email like this, it would likely have a real bank's name and logo on it. But the thing is, consumers, and especially those that are just getting into using digital tools and into bridging out online, a lot of them don't know how to discern this from a legitimate email. So you're going to read this email. When you do, I want you to read the from name, bigcity.bank@gmail.com to joelewis@gmail.com. Okay. Subject, urgent, all caps. Your Big City Bank account has been compromised. Then we've got Big City Bank right there. Dear Joe, your City Bank account has been compromised. Secure your account immediately by providing us with your login ID, password, and social security number. Right away, the alarm bell should be ringing. For your convenience, click on the link below to submit your information. Secure my account. Thank you for your cooperation, Big City Bank. Okay. Now, we went over that example. What did you notice? So I want you to take a few minutes to type your thoughts about this scam in your Google Doc. Now, give them maybe a minute or two. And as they're going, what you want to do is you say, okay, what did you notice? You're prompting them. So now they're going to start typing. Now you go back to that slide and you say, let's take a look. Maybe a few things. Does anybody want to type in the chat or questions? Or if we're live, does anyone want to raise their hand and tell me what they see? What creates a warning for this email? And so some people may actually provide you with something. Also, if you're teaching on a webinar, you might have a lag depending on your platform. So you might ask a question and then have to sit there awkwardly for 10 to 15 seconds. That's okay. Just let it be silent. No problem. But the things that you want to point out here and what I'm going to show you right now, one, the email, bigcity.bank@gmail.com. Right away, we know this is not a professional email from a professional bank because it's a Gmail email address. It was someone created it for free. And bigcity.bank@gmail.com is not where I expect to get my professional emails, my professional correspondence from with my bank. Next, the subject line, urgent. Your Big City Bank account has been compromised. Okay, urgent, obviously that gets us kind of like alert. Well, that's what they're trying to do. Right away, this is a fear tactic. They're trying to use these words, compromised, urgent. This is bad news. You're in trouble. Dear Joe, your Citibank account has been compromised. Here's the thing. Secure your account immediately by providing us with your login ID, password, and social security number. No organization in their right mind would ever ask you to send them that information via email. And this is something where you can stop and make a point and say, everyone, I want you to write this down. You should never share your social security number over email. You don't share your login and password with someone. If anything, customer service representative, you'd be able to call in and they'd be able to reset your password for you or send a reset request. You're never going to have to provide that information. So if you get an email asking for your login, your password, and or your social security number, right away you should know, no, this doesn't sound right. And if anything, pick up the phone and call your bank. Don't click on these links. Now, another thing that you're going to want to point out to the attendees, right here, secure my account, I can't see where that links to. I don't know if it goes to bigcitybank.com/secure my account or if it goes to some phishing site, to a site where it's going to collect my information, whatever I type in. So right away, if they see links, and if you see links where you question it and you don't know the destination where it's going, don't click. If anything, you pick up the phone, call Big City Bank, and verify. So this is an example of a phishing scam. Now, phishing is spelled with PH, is when a scammer impersonates or a company or a person in order to trick someone into giving up their valuable personal information. Usually, phishing takes place through emails, internet ads, or copies of websites that look similar to the ones you already use. For example, you could receive an email from your bank, a store where you shop, or an online payment processor stating that there's a problem with your account and they need your login information in order to fix it. If anything, if you ever get those, again, you go to that website, you go to their support, and find out if you can talk to a support rep directly through the site or pick up the phone and call them. Never provide any login information if it's solicited via email. So again, now we're going through. We walked through it. Now what we did is we went back to the email and we kind of went over the urgency and those types of things. Now we're drilling it into it more. So we're actually using a little bit of repetition here and we're drilling on these points so that they really stay. We want these to be takeaways. So a warning sign, urgency. Listen, if it's truly urgent, you'll probably get a call or a text message, something like that. You might get a letter from your bank. Just an email alone, and they're just saying urgent, it's not enough. If your bank account's been compromised, most likely you'll get another transmission. If you see something like a limited time offer, so if you've ever heard of FOMO, fear of missing out, they're using that here because all of a sudden that gets us, we're at basically at attention, right? We're focused. You've just alerted me. Okay, someone needs help. Make someone act on emotion. If we use this urgency, which is a common ploy in marketing, but these scammers are using it so that a business owner, someone that's attending this event, is going to make a rash decision. So logic goes out the window, emotion takes over. We don't want that. Then links or attachments. So notice, links or attachments can be sent in emails, on social media, even texts. If you don't trust the email, so the first thing you do is look at the from name, the from email address. If you don't trust it, never click on the link or open an attachment. By doing so, you could be brought to a page that injects harmful code into your web browser, or if you download the attachment, it might have a virus in it or malware. So either of those, right away, if you don't trust it, don't download it, don't click. Legitimate businesses will never ask for your login information or other personal details through email. If a legitimate business needs you to log into your account, they'll instruct you to open their website or app and sign in. And if you forget the password, you can request a password reset. If you receive a questionable email from a bank or a business where you have an account, call the business directly, call the bank directly. And if you need to visit the business's website, type their website address into your browser. So I want you to go to www.bigcitybank.com because then you can verify you're at the right site. Don't click on anything in the email to try to get to the site. It could be a copy of the site. Now, scammers may also use threats or a threatening tone to get money or information. I've actually seen a lot of videos about this recently, and this is something you can bring up as a presenter. You can say, hey, go look for videos. If you look for call center scam videos, you'll see a whole bunch of them where they put these really hard-nosed tactics in, and they're trying to really get people pressured. Like, if I don't act right now, my whole business could fall into the water. So watch something like that and say, like, I actually watched a video, and it was crazy how these different scammers use these hard-nosed tactics, this threatening tone to scare people into giving their personal information. Threats can make people think like they'll lose something important, like housing or access to their computers, and people can also be threatened with humiliation. For example, scammers might send an email claiming they have hacked your device and have embarrassing footage of you. Sometimes they will include an old password in the email to prove, quote unquote, that they're serious. Then they'll demand that you send them money in order to stop them from distributing the footage. If you receive a communication like this, it's best not to reply or respond in any way. So if you received an email like that, what would you do? So pose it out and have them type into the chat or raise their hand and answer. What would you do if you got an email like that? Here I would spend 30 seconds to a minute. And if no one responds, because sometimes people are bashful, then say, you know what I would do? And then just kind of give them, and they'll nod or they'll agree with you. If you receive an email you suspect is a phishing attempt, you have a few options. If you know it's a fake email, you can just ignore it. If the email claims to be from an organization you're involved with or someone you know, reach out to them directly. Do not respond to the email. It's not going to go to the person you think it's going to go to. Another good option, like we've talked about, call and speak to someone over the phone. Don't click any links or open any attachments. And finally, if you know an email is phishing, you have the option of reporting it. The next slide will show you how to do that. Assuming you have a Gmail account or Google Workspace account, you'll actually be able to report a phishing attempt. So you'll open the email. Don't worry, opening the email isn't going to hurt you. At the top right of the email, you'll see an icon that looks like 3 vertical dots. You see it right here, kind of a sideways ellipses, okay? You click on that. That's the More menu. Click on that, and then you're going to click down to, so just so you know too, my friends that are watching, as you walk through the points, we actually have created new slides to show the animation, or basically to show the step. So this is one slide. Then we're going to go to the next slide. You're going to click on the More button. The next slide brings up the contextual menu. And you'll notice right here, report phishing. And when we go to the next slide, it circles it, report phishing. So now it just brought us through those different steps. This is another one. Imagine that you came across an advertisement on a job site. There are a lot of people that are falling for this. It seems like easy, quick money, which most of us know is not the case. So after you read the posting, you decide to email the address listed. You hear back right away. Susan, the recruiter, says you'll be able to start right away after you pay for a training session. Okay, $5,000 to $10,000 per day, work from home, choose your own schedule, make money as an undercover shopper. 15 hours a week, 80,000 plus bonuses, no interview necessary. Email awesomesecurityjob@gmail.com. Okay. What did you notice? So now this time, you already walked through the last example. Now this time you're just going to put it up to them. What do you notice? You can always go back to the last slide and say, okay, what do you guys notice? What do you folks notice? Give them 30 seconds to a minute. And if they don't come up with anything, that's okay. Then say, let's go over it together. So, okay, offers, jobs, employment scams, too good to be true. You can walk through these bullet points. Your speaker notes as well have a little bit more, they're a little bit more robust. This is one where you could probably skim off the speaker notes. It gives a little bit more information and context there. Warning signs, too good to be true. If it's too good to be true and it seems like it's an easy fix, if it was easy, wouldn't everybody be doing it? Wouldn't everybody be making $80,000 doing undercover shopping from home? So by framing it like it's something that is really easy to accomplish, it cites emotion in us. And the emotion really overcomes and kind of mutes out the rationale or the logic. So you have an opportunity to earn lots of money with little time. Poses as an enthusiastic recruiter. My guess is there's not really a Susan there. It's someone else that's just acting like Susan. Request for payment. No job should ask you to pay to work. I don't know if you've ever been invited, and this is where you could tell another story. So for me, a story that I tell is the idea of when I was a lifeguard, and I was lifeguarding at a country club in Oregon. And one of the members, really nice guy, really liked me, and we hit it off. We would talk. And one day he's like, I know that you're lifeguarding. What else are you doing to save some money? And I said, oh, well, here and there I do this and that. Oh, well, I'd love to have you come to a lunch. You can learn a little bit more. I'm like, okay, this guy works at a country club. He's got money. Or he goes to a country club, has money. Now he's inviting me to a lunch. It's like a steak lunch or whatever, or some fancy lunch. Sure. Well, I get in there and guess what it is? Hey, you're going to make unlimited earnings potential. Tons of money. You can't even imagine. You're going to be counting. You're going to be like Uncle Scrooge, Scrooge McDuck, swimming through $100 bills. All you have to do is buy in and get your starter pack. And it was some multi-level marketing scheme for vitamins or health tonic or something. I don't know how I ended up there. But the moral of the story is, when I was there, and I'm 17 years old, and I'm looking at this middle-aged gentleman who just introduced me thinking that I'm a mark, and then I'm told I have to pay $500 to invest in this business opportunity, right away I said, thank you very much for the opportunity, walked out the door. The same thing. If they're telling you that you can make $80,000, but you just have to invest a little bit of money first, it's probably not going to happen. So let's be realistic as well. Typos. Now, one possible sign of a scam is typos. Okay? That being said, my own family, my in-laws, are from the Cape Verde Islands off the west coast of Africa, and English is a second language for them. Writing doesn't come naturally to them. So there may be misspellings and grammatical errors, and that's just going to happen. People have different reading and writing levels. That being said, if you see quite a few pronounced errors, and this is something where you're potentially making $80,000, then you've got to kind of stop and be like, is this right? So legitimate companies who would offer something like this have proofreaders or have a marketing department that would look at that to make sure it looks good and it sends the best kind of impression. If an actual company is being impersonated, the logos and colors may not look right. because a graphic designer just kind of grabbed some colors and put it together. So those are two things that you want to look at. Okay, so if you had seen this ad, what would you do? Why don't you give me some ideas of what you would do in order to prevent the scam? So then we go to a slide. We can walk through how to avoid employment scams. Search online for the company, look at the job title, the name of the contact person. So right away, this is where you feel free to take my line. When in doubt, Google it out. When in doubt, Google it out. Open up Google, type in the name of the company and the job title, and see what you find. If it exists, then click on that link and then see if it's the same information. If it's different, then we have an issue. Maybe you want to call them. Don't pay for training or other costs ahead of time. Okay? Unless you're getting into multi-level marketing or affiliate marketing, that's different. This, in this case, is promising you a job, a salary of $80,000 plus. Why would you pay for it? Don't give away your personal info until you have made sure the job is legit. Sometimes when you're in this process and you're thinking of all the money you can make, it's so exciting. And so what happens is you're thinking about those things and then all of a sudden you're prompted, hey, okay, what's your login for Google? Oh, it's this. Okay, I need the last 4 of your social security number. What's your date of birth? Don't give any of that information until you have verified and validated that this is a legitimate opportunity. Now, when in doubt, Google it out. You're going to use Google search to verify a job offer. Go to google.com, and then you're going to be brought to this page, which we all know and love. You're going to type google.com, press enter, and then you're going to type words into the search bar and press enter. So the words that you type in might be the company name and the job title. Or you could search for the name of the company and add in the word scam. So Acme Company scam. Sometimes that's all you need to see how many people have reported it as a scam. So go to Google. There we go. We have some rogue animated slides here. Type something in. So let's say the third one, perfect connection. You connect with a person on social media or a dating app. Seems like a great match. The relationship progresses quickly as you have many common interests and experiences. You invite them out for a date several times, but they're never able to meet in person. You get to know each other through chatting and text. After a week or two, the person writes you an urgent message. They have a medical emergency and need you to send them money to help pay their medical bills. Well, again, this is where I go back to my mom. You know, my parents are divorced 5 years. My mom's on the dating scene. And it's taken a while for her to get there, and I've helped her build her profiles. And man, it was such a blow to her confidence when this handsome guy, a widower, was interested in her, started talking to her, and then we find out it was fake. And then the next one that talks to her starts talking to her. She sends me the photo. This time says, Brian, do your magic. Fake again. So it can really, in this case, I've seen how it deflates someone's self-worth, right, and confidence level. And so it hits me here, and I want to make sure that whether you're online professionally or personally, you're still protected. So we mentioned earlier how online scammers use people's emotions against them. This is particularly true with dating and romance scams. According to the Federal Trade Commission, Americans lost $304 million to romance scammers in 2020. That's up about 50% over 2019. Now, these can be initiated online, social media, dating apps, websites. Scammers use photos that they find online. The relationships can progress quickly, and especially this is where if a scammer is good, they know their audience, they know who they're talking to, and they know what they need to say to get to that next step. And scammers claim a financial emergency where, hey, if you can wire me the money or send me the money, I'll pay you back when we meet. So again, go back to your Google Doc and type in some of the different observations that you found from going over this scam. What stood out to you? You know, was it the photo? Was it what they asked for? So this scam obviously uses some tactics we've already covered. It often starts with someone who seems too good to be true. A unicorn, if you will. And those scammers can be experts at telling you what you want to hear. They may even find pictures of other people online and claim that they're pictures of themselves. This is where you can mention, if you've ever seen the show Catfish, this is basically called catfishing. Next up, there's urgency. This person you've suddenly grown close with has a sudden emergency. It's urgent. They need your help now. Once you've sent money, it's likely that a scammer will keep finding new urgent reasons to ask for more. Psychology states that once you open up your wallet and you start giving, now you've set a precedent and you've kind of put yourself out there that if they need help, you're going to continue to give. And this is where you might see stories online and on TV shows where people just keep giving because they think, okay, it's, I'm going to see them soon enough. It's kind of that keep going towards that end goal of meeting and being with the person they love. Not the case. Finally, there's a request for payment. There's lots of different ways romance scammers ask for money. They may ask for money transfers, wires, even gift cards, and now I wouldn't even doubt cryptocurrency. So if you had become involved with someone romantically and were starting to wonder if they might be a romance scammer, what would you do? Take a second, and this is where you can ask them to write into the questions box or the chat. So, when you're getting to know anyone online, take your time before you get into a serious relationship. Here are some things. If you can, meet in person, safely and in a public place. So you always want to do that. Make sure you're in a safe spot because you don't know who this person is. Don't send them money, gift cards, or other forms of financial support. Once you kind of open the floodgates, it's hard to close them. They'll continue working on you, manipulating you to try to get more out of you. When you start talking to someone online, ask for more photos. If the person you're communicating with is a scammer, they may be using images they copied or grabbed from social media accounts or elsewhere on the internet. One thing you can do is say, hey, let's do a video chat. If they can do video chat, you can see them one-to-one and see their face, then you can validate that they're a real legitimate person. If not, ask them to take a photo with a piece of paper and write something on it. So I might write the date today or hi or whatever, or wave, or you can say, hey, hold up 3 fingers. How many people have photos of them holding up 3 fingers or hold up 4 fingers? So you can do that too if their camera doesn't work or they have slow internet and the video doesn't work. Be creative, but make them work for it and prove that they are who they are. This is a trick that you're all going to want to pay attention to. The reverse image search. It helps you learn more about a photo. So, you would start by going to images.google.com. Once you do, you're going to click on the camera icon right here. When you click on that camera icon, you'll now see that you can upload an image. You grab the image, so what you do is you save the image that they use, their photo, save it to your computer. Now you're going to be able to grab that image. You can basically upload it into Google Image Reverse Search. By doing so, now Google is going to process that image, and the results will show possible related search and visually similar images. So for instance, again, I go back to my mom. When I took the photo that she sent me from the dating app and put it up, well, I saw the same guy, but he wasn't located in Massachusetts. He was located in Southern Connecticut and was a real estate agent, not a widowed whatever he was that he said to my mom. So I clicked onto that, and then I started watching videos, and I said, hey, Mom, sorry, I sent her links. The reverse image search is huge for identifying if people are scamming you and using other people's photos. So now that we've gone through the different examples of scams, let's recap some signs. 1, if it's too good to be true. If it was possible and it was so profitable, wouldn't everyone be doing it? So put on your realistic lens, your glasses, and think, is this actually something I could accomplish? 2, urgency. Now, it's okay if it's like, hey, I want to meet. Okay, then let's find a safe public place. But if there's this urgency that's created, it has to happen now, immediately. If you don't help me, everything is going to fall apart. That's where you have to start kind of backing yourself off and saying, is this a relationship or a dynamic that I want to be in? Links and attachments. Quickest way to scam someone. Click on a link, you can install malware on your computer. Download and open an attachment, the same thing. We want to make sure we're not clicking on anything or opening anything we don't trust. And finally, request for personal information. If they're asking you for your login, your password, which no one should ever ask you for, or something like your social security number, date of birth, place of birth, last four of social, mother's maiden name, any of those kinds of questions, do not answer them. Request for payment is another one. So they might just be very clear and straightforward. Hey, I need you to send me money. You can wire it or Venmo or PayPal or send me Bitcoin or whatever it is. When you see typos like spelling errors in communication, it may have come from a suspicious source. Not necessarily, but that should be one of your telltale signs to dive a little deeper and see. And then threats. If they start threatening you, then that's really going to be something where now you might want to bring in law enforcement, a lawyer, or someone else to really explore your options. Don't give in to their threats and don't reply. You're only going to escalate the situation. Now, you're familiar with different online scams. You know how to spot common signs of those scams. Keep in mind that many of these signs apply to other kinds of scams using different forms of communication. For example, scammers use similar tactics to scam over phone or via SMS text message. You can always use your notes as reference to remind yourself of what you learned today. And the beauty is that Google Doc that you've been working on is saved automatically in your Google Drive. So you can always open it again, read your notes, or add more notes in the future as you come across more scams. Now, to access your Google Doc, what you're going to do is go to google.com. Once more, you can go right here and click on the Apps button. You'll click on Google Drive. By clicking on Google Drive, you'll be able to see all of your recent documents, including the scam tracker we just created. So today we covered a lot of information about scams. You know, we established that scammers are out there and it's been growing. It grew 50% from 2019 to 2020. And with more business owners coming online, with more people realizing they have to adopt technology to grow their business, and more people using tools like what we offer at Google, they're going to see that, you know, there's going to be more potential for these types of scams. So the only way that we can prevent these scams is by being vigilant and by being really educated on what's to come. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. And if you have any questions, what I'm going to do is open it up to questions right now. That's where what you're going to have is now you'll just have questions and answers, whether it's through your questions section, if it's on your messaging, your chat, or if you don't have the ability to do Q&A, you can tell them to email you with questions and you can find the answer. When you're answering questions, do me this favor. If you don't know the answer, simply say, I don't know, but I'll try to get the answer for you. And if it's something that's totally out of your purview, because you might get random questions as well, just say, you know what, that's a really good question. I don't have the resources to find it, but check out on Google and just type in that question. You're probably going to find an answer. So just send them back to Google search so that they can basically do their own journey of fact finding. So everyone, I hope this has been helpful. Again, my name's Brian Kaplan, one of your dedicated trainers for the Grow with Google program. Until next time, stay well, stay healthy, stay happy. Here's to your success.